You're in a hurry and you need to have perfect British intonation now. You could spend a year in Britain listening in to people's conversations.
Or you? Are you spying on us? Why don't you mind your own business? Get lost.
Or watching endless British dramas.
You're a student of architecture.
Absolutely.
Then I do hope you'll come and inspect my little cottage.
The attics.
Yes. Mary took the Duke up to the attics.
Or you could watch this 15-minute video. Having good pronunciation is not enough. I'm sure you do have good pronunciation already. You should have if you've watched this video. You've got to get the pitch, the tone, the rhythm correct to convey your meaning and emotion. And there are rules. And today you're going to learn 10 rules for perfect British intonation. By the end of this video, you'll sound more British than the love child of David Attenborough and Judi Dench. Are you ready for that? Then let's go. Hello and welcome to Let Them Talk. Let's start with some open questions. These are the WH questions, maybe the how questions, which have open-ended answers. And these have a falling tone. For example, what are you doing? What are you doing? Where are you going? Where are you going? How was the show? How are you? Now, of course, you can break this rule. For example, to show surprise, if you haven't seen the person for many years, you might say, how are you? To show surprise. We'll look at surprise later in this video. But yeah, how are you? Rising tone if it's spoken. But normally it's a falling tone. And falling tone sounds a bit more serious. A rising tone sometimes sounds a bit needy. How are you? No, it didn't sound better to say, how are you? Okay, so falling tone for those type of questions. Now it's your turn.
Read what's on the screen using the correct intonation.
Where's the station? Where's the station? Who's that guy I saw you talking to? Now, questions with a yes/no answer end with a rising tone. So, for example, was it difficult? Was it difficult? Do you want some coffee? A rising tone. Why are you bleeding? Have you been in a fight? So there are two questions together there. The open-ended question, which has a falling tone, and then the rising question for the yes/no question. Why are you bleeding? Have you been in a fight? Okay, you got it? Now it's your turn. Try this. Did you enjoy the show? Are you waiting for someone? If you use this tone correctly, sometimes you don't need to use the auxiliary verb, the verb to be or do in do you want questions, because it's clear from the context, from the intonation, that you're asking a question. So for example, you going out tonight? I don't need to say, are you going out tonight? You're going out tonight, that's enough. You also don't need a pronoun if it's clear from the context. Want some tea? I'm clearly speaking to you. So the intonation can save you time. You don't need to say, do you want some tea? Just, want some tea? Now it's your turn. Put the correct intonation here. Want some more? You hungry? Or I could just say, hungry? Question tags.
Gosh, it's very cold in here, isn't it?
Air conditioning. Keeps these things cool?
Yes, what are they?
I have no idea.
Now, question tags have a rising tone if it's a real question and a falling tone if it's just said for confirmation. So, for example, beautiful day, isn't it? Now, that's not a question. You can peek out the window and you can see it's a beautiful day. The sun is shining. No, you wouldn't say, beautiful day, isn't it? Unlikely. What about this? The meeting starts at 5 p.m., doesn't it? Now, I said that as if it's a real question, and I'm waiting for a response. If not, I'd just say the meeting starts at 5 p.m., doesn't it? Maybe I'm expecting a confirmation, but maybe not. Now, you decide if it's a real question or just a confirmation here. He missed the train, didn't he? Okay, confirmation. He missed the train, didn't he? Real question. She's got a new job, hasn't she? Real question. She's got a new job, hasn't she? Okay, just confirmation. Only stress the content words, not the helper words. Content words are the verbs, except possibly the verb to be and have, adjectives, nouns, and adverbs. Helper words are, well, sometimes the verb to be, prepositions, conjunctions, articles, sometimes pronouns. Now, these words are usually unstressed in a sentence, and the content words are stressed. So, for example, I'm making scones for my friends at school. In this sentence, making scones, friends, school are the content words. And you notice I put an emphasis on those words. Whereas for, my, at, the are helper words. I don't emphasize those words. I'm making scones for my friends at school. Look at this sentence. I fell over on the street because it was icy. The content words are fell over. Okay, over is a preposition, but here it's part of the verb, part of the phrasal verb to fall over. So that's the content word. And remember, with a phrasal verb, you usually stress the preposition. Street is a content word. Icy is a content word. On, the, because, it was are just helper words. So let's try it again, stressing the content words. I fell over on the street because it was icy. I fell over on the street because it was icy. You got it? And now it's your turn. Put the stress on the content words. I'm going to the shop to buy a few things. However, sometimes in a sentence, one word is more important than another. And what do you do in that situation? Well, simply you stress it. Normally, a statement will have a falling intonation, but you need to leave room for a spike to emphasize a key word. So in a neutral sentence would be something like, she promised to give me a cheese and tomato sandwich. She promised to give me a cheese and tomato sandwich. Okay, it's got a falling tone, isn't it? And in normal conversation, that's how you'd say it. However, sometimes you want to stress to the listener that one part of the sentence, one word is more important than another. So each word in that sentence could be stressed to change its meaning. So, for example, she promised to give me a cheese and tomato sandwich. Not him. Why is he giving it to me? She promised to give me a cheese and tomato sandwich, but she didn't keep her promise. She promised to give me a cheese and tomato sandwich. Give, not sell. She promised to give me a cheese and tomato sandwich, not ham and tomato. She promised to give me a cheese and tomato sandwich, not cheese and cucumber. She promised to give me a cheese and tomato sandwich, not a cheese and tomato something else that I can't think of right now. But yes, you get what I want to say. Okay, you can always leave a spike for the important word in a sentence. Okay, so it's pretty simple in English. If you want to emphasize something, then you emphasize it. You don't need to add extra words, as sometimes you do in other languages. So anyway, try this at home with your own keyword spike. I'll say it in a flat way, and you can try the different versions at home. I promised to buy her a bunch of red roses. I promised to buy her a bunch of red roses. Next, let's move on to lists. There are two ways to give the items in a list. You could go down, 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 up for the final item, or up, 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 down. The important thing is to change the tone at the end to indicate to the listener that there are no more items on the list. So for example, I went to town to buy a hat, some gloves, a dictionary and a toothbrush. Okay, that one, rising tone at the end. It could equally work with a falling tone at the end. I went to town to buy a hat, some gloves, a dictionary and a toothbrush. Now it's your turn. I went to town to buy a coat, some shoes, a pair of scissors and a bottle of wine. I went to town to buy a coat, some shoes, a pair of scissors and a bottle of wine. Now let's move on to a few ways that you can use intonation to express emotion. And first of all, we look at surprise, shock or disbelief, but in a good way. And for this, you will need to increase the volume of your speech, speak with a steady raised tone until the last content word, where you will raise the tone even more and elongate the syllable of the stressed part of that word and then drop it off. Does that make any sense? Probably not. Probably not. I'm even more confused than you, I'm sure. But you'll see it'll become perfectly clear if I give you some examples. And here's the first one. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. So da 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 da. I don't believe it. I've just been accepted into Oxford University. This is unbelievable. Now it's your turn. This is amazing. I just won the lottery. However, sometimes you're surprised in a negative way. And this is kind of the opposite. Instead of rising tone, you keep it flat and aggressive. Then you lengthen the stressed syllable of the last content word. But with negativity, it goes down rather than up. Once again, it'll be much easier if I just give you some examples. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. Okay? I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
I don't believe it.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
Okay, now it's your turn. This is ridiculous. Anger. Fast, aggressive tone, which drops on the last content word, for example. I wish to speak to the manager. I wish to speak to the manager. Da 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 da.
Are you the manager?
I am the owner, madam.
What?
I am the owner.
I want to speak to the manager.
Get me some coffee. I told you not to do that. Now it's your turn. Why don't you leave me alone? Just get lost. Sarcasm. Now this usually has an up, down tone. I won't go into this in great detail. I'll just give you an example. Oh, look at your CV. You know Microsoft Windows. Ooh. And you've got GCSE in German. Aren't you clever? Nya, 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 nya. This is the up and down tone. But we don't like being sarcastic. So, you know, I won't give you any exercises on that one, but just be familiar with that tone. And we'll move on to the next one, which is fury. If you're absolutely furious, you could try this. The slow but aggressive, slow, fast, fast. Okay? For example, you like this. I told you not to do that. These people drive me crazy. Now you try it. Why don't you listen? Why won't they answer? Oh no, it's the end of the video. Now go out, take a red double-decker bus to your favourite pub, drink some warm beer, enjoy a Marmite sandwich while listening to the Beatles to celebrate your newly acquired Britishness. It's unbelievable. Goodbye.